Yes.
Do children learn to replicate this readily in their printing? And
Oh, yes.
you've eliminated all cursive, I assume.
Well, we keep them on it such a short time now, that there's no point. The kids go in and out of this within 2 to 3 months, because they see how it becomes a set of cues, dependable cues that you can pick up from immediately. Did you have another question?
Question marks and quotation marks.
Same. No change. None of the marks or other systems, the parentheses. Yes?
You have a problem presently, and I would think it would continue with UNIFON, with a person whose ear is attuned to a different dialect of English.
They spell it differently.
They will spell their dialect?
They spell their dialect.
Spell...
Yes, that's the interesting thing of these children's books in Indianapolis and down in Cairo and a number of other communities where we do this. And they spell exactly as they speak.
Well, that's
for good or ill.
Then they have to move to standard hearing and spelling.
That's why I think speech training, dialect training, and that sort of thing is so much more important for both teachers and children than anybody else. And fortunately, the radio and the TV is doing an enormous lot of that, getting rid of our dialects. Phonics is an intellectual act. This is a basic, low-grade type of learning activity. Mary?
Well, and I always felt with my own children that you trip them like you're putting your foot out in front of them. When you say, okay, now we'll sound this out. A is for apple. What? And it's...
Oh, no, it's for 8.
Oh, well then, Mom, you're telling me something wrong. And it isn't a bit, so that they don't have the ability that it takes to understand what phonics is.
It's as though our numbers were written with all kinds of tricks built into them, and we wouldn't tolerate it. As a matter of fact, if I were teaching English in France, I would use UNIFON. First, I would spell French in UNIFON, which looks pretty much like it does now. And by the time I had that, I would have the sound symbol conventions stuck in here. And I would read my English in UNIFON. And we have had children do that. We had a program with the UNESCO school in Paris from an old neighbor in Hyde Park, which took this over to teach a variety of kids English, and worked out quite well. It's still working as far as I know.
John, it seems to me your biggest problem is marketing.
Oh yeah, and because you could, until just recently, the copyright law has been changed. The copyright law was changed in 1986, I believe it was, and it does not prohibit this restriction that we had before.
It seems to me this method be a boon to people like me who do literacy tutoring.
Oh, yeah.
My 52 or 53, whatever he is, man that I tutor, every time I meet with him, a couple times a week, well, why is that? Why do you pronounce that this way and over here it's this way? And it's so confusing for him, and the words are tough. And
if you're teaching from words,
like it would be better for him to just start with this, and then eventually.
It's a miserable proposition, I grant you, yes. Oh yes, the Mott Foundation over in Flint, Michigan has quite a program, and they have printed materials for adults in UNIFON and parallel texts.
I'd like to see that.
I'll see if I can find some of those. Yeah.
I think that Syl's point about marketing and getting it out there overlooks how big a thing you're talking about when you talk about changing the symbol structure that we have had for 2,000 years. That's pretty major. Now, if you look at it as an aid to become literate, is one thing.
Can you hear Mary? Speak up, Mary.
A bridge, which you use that word. But
well, that's all it can be used for at the present.
Changing us completely over. ipso facto, by edict.
Well, Sill's right, it's a marketing problem. But the marketing problem was not protectable, so you couldn't publish in it or put any resources into it and have it protected. But now it's possible to do that. That's why I've had some renewed interest in it in the past 10, 15 years because of this problem. And
interesting question, though, that I don't think we got to the bottom of. He says if you can go from
UNIFON French to UNIFON English.
No, just say in English. If you had a computer that had UNIFON, would it translate plain, ordinary usage back again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me intrude into that just a moment.
How could it do that?
We do now have software which permits you to speak into your computer, into a microphone. The sounds are discriminated and stored, and this is all done in high-speed time. Those sounds are stored, and then they have to look up those sounds in a dictionary to spell them as they are. So you have to have a big storage device to handle the stored speech. We're using this in law and in a number of other places now. There's two sets of them. IBM has a set of software. There's another set of software by a private entrepreneur. However, right now this becomes rather costly in terms of equipment and software, because you have to look up every damned word to see how it's spelled. Every collection of speech elements. With UNIFON, you would save 3/4, maybe 7/8 of the memory and other things if we had a one-for-one expression, no more than putting Arabic numbers in. Yes.
Tried for a long time to slide into simplified spelling, and
You can't do it as long as you don't have enough letters to go
It
around.
had a large marketing push behind it, and they never got anywhere with it.
All of those things like phonics and simplified spelling that the Tribune used to have, and a few of the other things, they don't work so long as you're speaking English with 40 sounds and you've got 26 letters. The conventions you have to make, the shortcuts you have to make it an impossible thing.